Before the burger became fast food, before it became comfort food, before it became a symbol of modern America, it was not famous, it was not celebrated, and it definitely was not intentional. The hamburger did not begin as an icon. It began as a solution, a quiet, practical answer to a problem humans have been trying to solve for centuries: how to make meat cheaper, easier to eat, and faster to serve. The truth about the burger is uncomfortable for marketing, but fascinating for history. There is no single inventor. There is no dramatic first moment. There is no genius chef standing behind a grill changing the world. The burger was not created to be legendary. It became legendary because it fit perfectly into a changing world. To understand the burger, we have to forget the bun for a moment. We have to forget fast food. We have to go back to a time when meat itself was a challenge, not a luxury. Long before modern kitchens, long before restaurants, humans learned something basic about survival. Whole cuts of meat were difficult. They took time to cook, time to chew, and time to digest. For working people, for soldiers, for travelers, this mattered. Across ancient civilizations, cooks began chopping, mincing, and shaping meat. In ancient Rome, written recipes describe seasoned ground meat shaped into patties and cooked over heat. These were not burgers, but they reveal something important. The idea of minced meat is ancient. The burger's foundation is far older than its name. As centuries passed, this knowledge never disappeared. In Europe, especially in regions where meat was expensive, ground meat dishes became common: meatballs, rissoles, chopped meat cakes, all variations of the same logic. Grind the meat, stretch it further, cook it faster. This was not gourmet food, it was practical food. That practicality becomes critical when we reach northern Germany, specifically the port city of Hamburg. Hamburg was not just a city, it was a gateway. By the 18th and 19th centuries, it was one of Europe's busiest ports. Sailors arrived hungry. Workers needed filling meals. Immigrants passed through in massive numbers. Food in Hamburg was shaped by movement, speed, and necessity. This is where Hamburg steak enters the story. Hamburg steak was finely chopped or minced beef, lightly seasoned, shaped into a patty, and cooked quickly. It was not served in bread. It was eaten with utensils, often with onions or gravy. The importance of Hamburg steak is not what it looked like, but what it represented. It was a standardized way of preparing beef that made tough cuts usable and affordable. When German immigrants traveled to the United States in the 19th century, they brought this food culture with them. They did not bring burgers, they brought Hamburg steak. In American cities, especially those with large German populations, menus began listing Hamburg steak as a dish. This appears in printed menus well before the hamburger sandwich existed. At this stage, the burger still was not a sandwich, it was a plate. Meanwhile, America itself was changing rapidly. The late 19th century was an era of industrial growth. Cities expanded, factories multiplied, workdays were long, breaks were short, and meals had to adapt. People needed food that was fast, cheap, and filling. At the same time, meat production was undergoing its own transformation. Slaughterhouses were becoming industrial operations. Beef was processed at scale, but not all cuts sold easily. Lower quality cuts were tough and unpopular. Grinding solved that problem. Ground beef could be seasoned, shaped, and cooked quickly. It became accessible to working class Americans. Hamburg steak moved from ethnic dish to mainstream menu item. Still, it was eaten with a knife and fork. The critical shift happened not in restaurants, but in public spaces. County fairs, street markets, and outdoor events became testing grounds for food innovation. These environments demanded portability. Vendors needed food that people could eat while standing or walking. Plates slowed sales, utensils complicated things. Somewhere in this environment, someone put a Hamburg steak between bread, not to invent a cultural icon, not to change history, simply to sell food more efficiently. This is where the myth of a single inventor collapses. Multiple individuals, in different places, around the same time, made the same decision: flatten the meat, put it in bread, make it handheld. The logic was obviously the timing was right. Claims emerged later. Different towns, different names, different dates. Food historians examine these claims carefully, and while some stories are plausible, none are definitive. What matters is not which vendor did it first, but why so many did it independently. The hamburger sandwich was inevitable. By the late 1800s, ground beef sandwiches were appearing at fairs and food stands across the United States. Some used slices of bread, others used rolls. Yeast buns came later. There was no standardized form. That standardization would come only after the idea proved successful. The hamburger remained a local, casual food until the early 20th century. Then came the moment that pushed it into national consciousness, the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair. World's fairs were massive cultural events, showcasing technology, culture, and food to millions of visitors. Vendors sold foods that were easy to eat while walking. Hamburgers fit perfectly. Visitors encountered the hamburger not as a novelty, but as a practical meal. They took the idea home. The burger spread not through advertising, but through experience. People tasted it, remembered it, and recreated it. However, the burger faced a serious threat. In the early 1900s, public trust in meat collapsed. Investigations revealed unsanitary conditions in slaughterhouses. Ground meat, in particular, became suspicious. People feared what they could not see. The burger could have disappeared at this point. Instead, it adapted. Restaurants began emphasizing cleanliness, consistency, and transparency. The burger became standardized. Patties were uniform. Kitchens were visible. The message was clear. This food is safe. This food is modern. This food is controlled. This period marked the burger's transformation from street food to system. Standardization mattered more than creativity. Consistency mattered more than tradition. The burger became scalable. Once scalable, it became powerful. The bun, often overlooked, was a turning point. Bread did more than hold the meat. It absorbed grease. It protected hands. It allowed stacking. It made customization possible. The burger became modular. Toppings could change. Sauces could vary. The base remained the same. Cheese was added not for tradition, but for appeal. Pickles, onions, mustard, and later ketchup followed. Each addition was not about culinary excellence. It was about identity. Vendors differentiated themselves through toppings. By the mid-20th century, the hamburger had become more than food. It became a symbol of speed, convenience, and modern life. It fit perfectly into car culture, suburban expansion, and fast-paced work schedules. It was not tied to rituals or seasons. It could be eaten anywhere, anytime. When the burger spread globally, it did not dominate by force. It adapted. Different cultures changed the meat, the spices, the sauces. The burger survived because it was flexible. It did not demand purity. It allowed interpretation. At its core, the burger's story is not romantic. It is economic. It is industrial. It is human. It shows how food evolves when societies change. The burger did not come from royal kitchens or ancient traditions. It came from ports, factories, fairs, and streets. It was shaped by migration. It was shaped by labor. It was shaped by time pressure. And that is why it endured. If this kind of real, research-driven food history is something you value, stories without exaggeration, without recycled myths, this is a good moment to subscribe. This channel is not about trends. It is about understanding how everyday food quietly shaped the world. Today, when you see a burger, you are not just seeing fast food. You are seeing centuries of adaptation, from ancient minced meat to Hamburg steak, from immigrant kitchens to fairgrounds, from suspicion to standardization. The burger earned its place not through luxury, but through usefulness. The burger teaches us a powerful lesson. The foods that last are not always the most elegant. They are the ones that solve real problems. They fit into real lives. They evolve when needed. That is the true origin of the burger. And if you want to keep uncovering the real stories behind ordinary foods, the ones that history textbooks ignore, stay here. Subscribe, because the next thing on your plate might carry a history deeper than you ever imagined.